Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another movie spoiler review. And yeah, I mean, now that the X-Men movies are wrapped up, I can get back to other movies. And Halloween in general, holiday season is about to be approaching. So I got this movie and one more movie I want to do uh before all that begins. So today I'll be covering my second favorite Leonardo DiCaprio film, The Great Gatsby. My first number one favorite DiCaprio film is Wolf of Wall Street. I freaking love that movie. I always say like I got like a dozen times. I freaking love it. It's one of my favorite sort of Scorsese films that I ever watched. And eventually I will cover that. As a matter of fact, I'll probably do that next year and put it on the list. Wolf of Wall Street. Don't know when next year, but definitely want to do it because it's honestly really fun. Anywho, yeah, so the reason I really want to put this on the list as well is because next Saturday I will be going to a Great Gatsby party in downtown Chicago. And you know, I've been hitting the gym as much as I can. I got myself like a black tie thing. I got like the whole thing sitting to the side. Nice little black tie attire. So I will be posting pictures of the outfit and everything like that, you know, some point next week. I also gotta make sure I got like a hair appointment literally the day before, so everything will be looking pretty tight. So I figured, well, I'm going to a Gatsby party, which is something I always wanted to do for myself. I figured, like, you know, if when I turn 40, that'd be like a good big birthday bash I wanted to do, like a Great Gatsby party. So I'm looking forward to this. It's like a bucket list kind of thing. Down getting it done kind of early. But yeah, before we continue, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this with your friends. Let me know what you guys think of the Great Gatsby movie, because I know it was obviously is based off the book written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, one of the most iconic novelists, American novelists during the Jazz Age. And it's primarily a lot of his writings is based on like the Jazz Age. Anyway, this movie was directed and the screenplay was by Baz Luhrmann. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Gatsby. Tom McGuire plays Nick Carraway. Carey Mulligan plays Daisy Buchanan. Joe Edgerton plays Tom Buchanan, her husband. Daisy being Nick's cousin. Jason Clarke is George Wilson. Amitabh Bachman plays Mayor Wolfsheim. Isla Fisher plays Myrtle Wilson. And Elizabeth Debicki plays Jordan Baker. And oh man, please leave a comment, let me know what's your favorite Leonardo DiCaprio film. Um, so anyway, the movie opens up with Nick in a psychiatric hospital. Uh, I guess it's never specified like why he's there. I guess he has some kind of like nervous breakdown or something. After the events of the story, he's gonna be detailing to this doctor. Now, I've never gone to any kind of psychiatric hospital before, and I'm not sure how those things looked during the 20s, but I'm pretty sure they just won't let you just walk around in your normal clothes. You're probably wearing some kind of jumpsuit or something. But anyway, he's telling this doctor how like he got fed up with like city and the inhabitants, all except one person, Jay Gatsby. And so this is like 1929. So it's several years prior. He's retelling the story of how he moved from the Midwest to well, what we know now as Long Island, New York, but he goes this place called West Egg. It's literally across the bay from his cousin's husband's place in East Egg, and he rented like a little small cottage area that's next door to Gatsby's residence, who often been spying on Caraway through the first 30 minutes of this film. Matter of fact, it's a whole 30 minutes before Gatsby even shows up in this film, which I kind of like because it leaves some air of, because he's supposed to be like a mysterious benefactor and party host kind of thing. You don't know. It's kind of like Batman 89 where Vicky Vale's going to this party hosted by Bruce Wayne, and she's walking around asking like who's Bruce Wayne, and like, you know, she's bumping into him and he just playing off like, oh, I'm not sure. It's kind of like that, and I kind of like it. It's like, you know, just he, you know, he's doing these parties for a purpose. It's not just to be, because if it was, he's not like Tony Stark where he's got to be like front and center of everything. So he just hangs back. And I gotta say, like, you know, seeing these parties at his place, especially the first time when Nick shows up, I freaking love it. It's probably my favorite scene out of the entire film. Just as he's going in trying to bring in his little invitation, which he's the only one that got. And you know, the words getting around about this like mysterious Gatsby, like, you know, I heard like he was an assassin, and like I heard he was some kind of like war vet, and all these different, you know, rumors going around. And later on in the film, it's like you see like newspaper clippings about, you know, Gatsby's like rise to fame and stuff like that, and taking like you know, pictures for the paper and everything like that. And it's like, why is this like little mystery about this guy? Like nobody knows who he is or what he looks like, when clearly he has newspapers about him, you know, as he's, you know, starting to rise in fame and fortune. And but nobody knows. I call foul on that, but not on the fact that is, you know, not widely known on how he got so much money at such a young age. But man, the parties are just like fire, and the music, the soundtrack is incredible. Now this is like a 2 hours and 22-minute long film, and again, the fact that it was, you know, based off a book, I can understand. but some people would argue that they could have trimmed down certain things because it kind of like dragging out the reveal of Gatsby. I don't agree on that part, but I do agree there are certain moments where I guess you can just truncate certain things, like moments when Gatsby finally, because the purpose of him throwing these parties because he used to have a relationship with Daisy way back in the past, like around like 1917, before he went off to war in WWE1. So of course you get the iconic, one of my favorite gifts of all time is just DiCaprio behind all these fireworks, throwing his cut like. It's like, I don't know why. This is one of my favorite gifts of all time. Just it's like a perfect gift to signify a party or like appreciation or something like that. And of course, you get this whole old sport thing. It's like it's his catchphrase. It's like, sorry, haven't been a good host, old sport. So him, of course, Daisy's trying to set up Nick with her friend Jordan, but it's like, I know it's based off a book, so I can't really, complain too much because I never read the book. I heard The Great Gatsby. I never read the book. This movie was my first introduction on the story, the full blown story of Great Gatsby. It's kind of like the way when it came to Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Never read the books before I watched the films. Although I couldn't get into Lord of the Rings like that. But while they're speculating on what this guy is all about, Gatsby calls Jordan over for a request. She's going like most of the night, and right as the party is dying down, she finally shows up and was super vague. I get it, like she promised not to tell, but you tell later, because clearly Gatsby set her up to ask Nick later to get him to organize a meetup between him and Daisy. And I'm thinking probably did that because he's trying to, I wouldn't say worm his way into a friendship, but trying to build things like a foundation with him and Nick so it wouldn't be like awkward or anything like that, I guess. Of course, like Tom is kind of a scumbag. He's treated like he has Daisy's old wife, but it's just like it's the 20s, so of course most people around that time was extremely racist. But he also like a rich pompous ass, and of course he there's this woman Myrtle that he's having an affair with on Long Island that's having marital troubles with this dude George, who's kind of acts like a local idiot. To be fair, these two really, I know it's the purpose of the book, but honestly, even by the book standards, they they set up for the purpose of the plot, especially towards the ending. But man, they're just like a pointless characters out of the entire film. I think Myrtle less so because she's the one having an affair with Tom, because Tom brings who know Nick from back in the day, so he invites him to about literally him and Myrtle like, you know, banging in the next room. You know, she invites some friends over so they have a little private little, you know, thing together. And this is before the, you know, he goes to the Gatsby party in the first place. But I love, like, you know, McGuire's narration of this entire film is just like, it sucks you in, and like through looking through his point of view as he's looking upon the city, and it's, you know, it's just like the jazz music and, like, you know, the cinematography. It just like, it sucks you in of I guess the rose-colored glasses of the 20s. It wasn't cool for everybody, and this is during the Prohibition time on top of all that, where like I'm pretty sure it was long before the Great Depression. So, you know, that's all I was thinking about too. It's like, you know, like the booze was cheaper and everybody's spending money like crazy and doing lavish parties and stuff, and I'm thinking like, oh boy, y'all just like some years away from, like, you know, things are gonna get kind of tight for everybody. Like, ugh, God, it's just like when you know ahead of time of what like what certain people are in for, and it's like, ugh, God, it's gonna suck for you, a lot of people. But anyway, so Nick and Gatsby are, you know, taking a drive. Oh, like he invites, you know, Nick to this not hot air balloon, but like, you know, riding on some kind of aerial type of contraptment. I forgot what the word was, but it's like a few days later they go on a drive out to the city, and it's like, God, I was like, you know, why you skip that whole entire part where it's like you set up like, hey, what time you want to go, old sport? And it's like, I want to see y'all go on that kind of dirigible or whatever the heck it was. But you get to see, like, you know, the kind of, you know, muscle Gatsby can just flex as he's driving, like, you know, like a bat out of hell in his extremely yellow car. And you know, the cops try to stop him, but he just flashes, you know, business card like, oh, sorry, Mr. Gatsby. And it's like, you know, oh, like I did like a commissioner favor one time. He still gives me Christmas cards. And so it's like this guy has so much pull with a lot of people. And he's trying to, I won't say butter up Nick, but he's just trying to get ahead of all these rumors, and it's trying to, like, he's laying it on pretty thick. And like as Nick described, and it's like, it's just the way he speaks, making it seem like he, you know, anytime he talks, it seems like he's lying. Something to that effect. But I get what he, as you're seeing this scene and you hear him talking, it seems like, dude, you're laying on really thick, like, you know, showing him his like war medal, and, you know, it's like, you know, I come from a family of this, and like went to Oxford, like, and show him all these pictures, and like, you know, according to Nick, it's like, oh yeah, this stuff seemed pretty legit, but the way he talking, like, it seemed like he's fabricating a lot of stuff. But they end up going to this speakeasy hidden inside this barbershop, and of course it's Prohibition. They had all these little hideaways, of course, where people can drink booze and party like they could before. As a matter of fact, I can't even imagine, you know, living in a time where it's like alcohol was banned. That seemed like wild to me. And when I first heard about Prohibition era in pretty sure it was middle school, and of course I didn't have any really appreciation because I never drunk yet. By the time well, uh, technically, my uncle, me and my brother, who was just a year younger than me at the time, we was little kids, and he, you know, it wasn't a very responsible type of guy. This is my birth mother's brother, and he had us get like a sip of his beer. Wasn't very good. Definitely wasn't responsible, or like, you know, you know, it was very stupid of getting like small children a sip of your beer. It wasn't like we're toddlers. Like I might have been in the third grade at that time, maybe. Something like that. So I was young, but not like toddler age anymore. So I remember it being disgusting. I think it was Miller Lite. But the next time I actually took a drink of alcohol was when I turned 21, when a cousin of mine took me out for my first drink, and I had a margarita. It was either a margarita or a martini. I'm pretty sure it was a margarita. Yeah. Because I know it started with an M. I'm pretty sure it was margarita. And so that'll be like the, legally the first time I actually drunk a sip of alcohol. Anyway, so Nick meets up with these shady people, and Nick's getting worried about, like, some uneasy stuff with Gatsby, but Gatsby kind of shut that stuff down pretty fast. But that's when eventually Nick goes to Jordan, asked to set up like a meeting between him and between Daisy and Gatsby. So Nick agreed, and of course Gatsby goes completely overboard because he haven't seen this woman in years, and because it turns out that Nick Gatsby's supposed to have returned home after the war ended, but he didn't feel comfortable scraping pennies while married to this beautiful woman. Even though they love each other, he wanted to make sure he made something of himself. So months after the war ended, this guy Tom swoops in, marries her. They end up having like they eventually end up having like a daughter, but that's towards the end of the film or book. But so it's been like years since they last seen each other, and of course she was distraught, but he sent a letter which she ended up destroying after reading it, because she didn't care all that much about like him having like money or anything like that. She just wanted to be with him, but he was adamant on making sure that he had something so they wouldn't have to want for anything, or at least she wouldn't have to want for anything. So he goes overboard by because he sends guys, landscapers, over to Nick's house, filling up with all these kind of bouquet of flowers. But I like the scene because when Daisy and Gatsby see each other for the first time in years, it's completely awkward and nervous, and these actors really play up the the nervousness and awkwardness of the whole entire room, and it's like kudos to that. It's really good. But once things start picking up, you know, the romance rekindles. Uh, then eventually they get, you know, because he wants her to divorce Tom, but they're trying to find like the right time to do it. And he throws all these parties just to hopefully have her wander in one of these at one point. That was his goal, but it's like, man, you kind of wasted a lot of money just in hopes. You didn't even send out like an invitation, a proper invitation, but just to one guy that happens to be related to the girl that you're trying to get reconnect with. But according to Jordan, he just, you know, he told her that he keep asking around hoping that somebody knew of her. Like, but you knew, you bought this place next to the guy that happens to be related to her. And well, now I'm thinking about it, scratch that, because because I had it just that moment, just slipped my mind. And something about, like, you know, because Gatsby was already there and throwing all these parties and hoping to, and keep speaking random people until somebody eventually, you know, mentions about somebody knowing Daisy. And then this is where you hear about Jordan. I guess he did his investigation about Nick, and but it still doesn't make any sense. It's like, you know, it's like you could have just gone straight to the horse's mouth with either Jordan or Nick to set up some kind of arrangement to reconnect with Daisy. And it seems like all these extra steps was completely unnecessary, and you wasted tons of cash unnecessarily. But anyway, Tom's obviously getting suspicious of Gatsby. Eventually, he learns about, you know, lies about Oxford and you know, other stuff. He was at the, you know, during the war, but he fabricated a lot of stuff, because after the war he became like a bootlegger, and that's how he got all that money at such a young age. But here's the story that he tells Nick, that he comes from like you know, from the Midwest, forgot which state. It is definitely one of those states, I think it was Kansas, one of those middle states. He grew up with like a dirt poor family, and as soon as he became a teenager, he went off to trying to make a way for himself. He came across this millionaire booze hound upon the river that's, like, you know, storming, and he's trying to rescue his life. And that's where you get the catchphrase "old sport." You know, for years he sailed on high seas with this guy, learned all he could from him about being a proper gentleman, and all the other stuff that you see, you know, Gatsby portray himself as. He learned all that stuff ins and outs through him. And upon the time when he died, because he thought he was going to get, well, not thought, like a guy mentions he's going to make sure he leaves something for Gatsby, but the family contested all that, so he was not left with anything. And he was bitter about that, and it's like, I don't know why you kind of mad. It's like, you know, they have every right to get, you know, like fight you on that, because like you knew him from several years. Don't know what the relationship was like with the rest of the family with this guy, but you know, they, you know, not that doesn't matter if they were like crappy people, really. It was just like they were legitimate proper heirs, unless something he did in a will that specified who gets what. But it was during like the uh well, definitely before like 1917 when he went off the war, but still around those times, I'm not sure, like I don't want to say not legally binding, but I'm just like, I'm pretty sure certain people play by different set of rules around that time than we do in modern times. But and then eventually he went off the war. Then at one point, while uh 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 doing when he's back home, uh in between those times, he met up with Daisy and they started a relationship. So uh things get heated between Tom and Gatsby after he just put it all out there that, you know, hey, Daisy don't love you no more, she loves me, and all the other stuff, and we've been having an affair behind your back, blah blah blah. So uh for some stupid reason they chose to drive each other's cars before all this fight. But uh after the whole fight situation, leaving the Plaza Hotel, Gatsby's yellow car ended up hitting Myrtle when she had like a fight between her husband. She ran out in the middle of the street thinking like, oh, you know, that's, you know, I'm gonna flag down the car thinking it's Tom, and gets hit and killed. Turns out, you know, Daisy was driving, but everybody's led to believe Gatsby was driving because that was his car, and definitely didn't stay for questioning because he didn't want to get, you know, Daisy in trouble with the law, because, you know, he has pull with like the commissioner. I doubt he's able to sweep it on the rug of a straight up murder. So everybody's led to believe like, oh, you know, Gatsby, you know, did this and that and the other. Even Nick, until Gatsby explained what really happened. So while Gatsby is waiting on a call from Daisy, so that way they can just you know, be together, Tom influences George about oh, hey, you know, Gatsby did all this. So of course, after Nick and Gatsby said their goodbyes, later on, George shows up. I don't know how he manages to worm his way into this big compound, but then again, people in LA don't lock their freaking doors or gates and have people come in and just rob them willy-nilly these day and age. So, you know, crap happens. But he strolls on in, gets a pistol, shoots Gatsby, then himself. Then after word got around about what happened to Gatsby, Nick was the only person that set up like the funeral and everything like that, but only people that came was like reporters just to take a look at the body, which is completely disrespectful. But all, and you know, Nick expresses how this leads him to his disgust with his entire city, the fact that he threw these countless lavish parties, you know, did favors to a lot of people, you know, like, you know, do all this kind of stuff, and no one but him showed up at his funeral. That is wild to me. This is not like, you know, Ebenezer Scrooge, where he can keep being like an a-hole that nobody will show up at your funeral but your nephew. This seems like a genuinely decent guy, you know, aside from the whole bootlegging thing. Even though it was illegal at that time, it wasn't like a, we know now how not criminal it was back then. Even Daisy didn't show up. So Tom left with her. They moved away. You would think Jordan would show up. She didn't. So all the while Nick is narrating, it's him writing all this stuff down because he used to be a writer, and the doctor mentions that, you know, this might help you with your process. So as Nick, which could, well, I guess it would have seemed arrogant for F. Scott Fitzgerald to write the character to be the narrator to be him, and just gave a different character name to write out this entire adventure, and gave the character Nick Carraway. But Nick, you know, titled this memoir as The Great Gatsby. And that is the movie. Honestly, it's a great movie. I really, really like it. Aside from the nitpicks I have that I mentioned, like the parties, like honestly was the best part. Honestly, just to see, well, especially the first one, as you see, like I mentioned, it's probably like a favorite moment of the entire film. And I love the interactions between DiCaprio and Maguire. Their scenes together are fantastic. You know, the actress who played Daisy, she was fantastic. I love those two. Is my favorite, you know, characters in the entire film. I love the scenes they have together. Like I said, the cinematography is fantastic. The music is fantastic. Highly recommend it. It is like near like 2.5 hours long, so it's definitely make sure you have like some time in your day to sit down, relax, and enjoy the film. But anyway, that was The Great Gatsby. Next week, for the next movie review, before we get into the Halloween films and other stuff, the next film will be, as a tease, is a tease. It's a Brendan Fraser film. So, leave that as you will, but it's gonna be a fun one, a oldie but a goodie. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in a few minutes as I will be covering my adventures with Superman season 1 and my thoughts on that. After that, I'll be getting right into Mortal Kombat 1. I got the premium edition, so look forward to that tonight. Not working tomorrow, so I can really like go ham. So anyway, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this movie. What's your favorite DiCaprio film? And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.